One culture that has provided ample material for myths is the old Egyptian civilization. Powerful pharaohs ruled the country for over 3,000 years. They were worshipped as gods by their loyal subjects. One such pharaoh is particularly mysterious: Tutankhamun, the king with the golden mask. The Valley of the Kings, 1922. Archaeologist Howard Carter conducts large excavation works. He's looking for treasures, gold, grave offerings, and mummies. After years of searching, he finally gets lucky. One of his workers comes across a secret cavity with a stairway. Right away, Carter sends a telegram to his sponsor, Lord Carnarvon. At last have made wonderful discovery in valley. Stop. A magnificent tomb with seals intact. Stop. Recovered same for your arrival. Stop. Carter. 2 weeks later, Lord Carnarvon travels to the Valley of the Kings. It would be his last journey. On this occasion, the men find Tutankhamun's tomb by pure chance.
Other tombs were actually built over the top of Tutankhamun's tomb, and the rubble from that construction fell down in front of the entrance, which means that his grave was perfectly preserved and perfectly hidden until Carter came along and created a real Egyptian hype with his discovery.
Howard Carter breaks open the first door and lets Lord Carnarvon go first. The men have to clear the way leading down an 8-meter-long hallway.
The find was such a big sensation because the grave was untouched, and that was very rare indeed. Most Egyptian graves have long been robbed by grave robbers, but this one was absolutely perfect, and it created a wave of interest in all things Egyptian.
The news about the untouched tomb belonging to a pharaoh makes international headlines. In the Valley of the Kings, Carter uncovers hieroglyphs revealing the name of the deceased. Pharaoh Tutankhamun. Up until then, he was just a completely anonymous Egyptian king. The objects Lord Carnarvon and Howard Carter find behind a stone wall exceed all expectations. Treasures, gold, furniture, grave offerings, all piled on top of each other in a seemingly careless heap. Pots full of food, chariots, god figurines. Carnarvon and Carter are looking at one of the greatest archaeological finds ever. But soon, inexplicable events start to unfold. With every piece they take out of the pharaoh's vault, the ire of the Golden King seems to grow. A first casualty sends shockwaves through the excavation team. Lord Carnarvon, the financier, dies. The world press reports the second sensation within a short time. First, the discovery of the tomb, and now the deadly curse of the pharaoh. Was the Lord sentenced to death because he entered the pharaoh's tomb first?
After the death of Lord Carnarvon, the story of the pharaoh's curse really gained international momentum, also because of various other bizarre events associated with it, the death of his dog, and also the power cut at the time of his death. But at the time, power cuts really were very common in Cairo, and it did have nothing to do with his death.
Yet another sensation making global headlines. First, the discovery of the tomb. And now, the deadly curse of the pharaoh.
The curse gave the press a juicy story. It led to serious mystery, which excited not just the journalists, but their audiences. Now, if you want a story to be well known, make it a secret.
17 people die, allegedly from the curse of the pharaoh. Among the dead is Arthur Mace, Carter's right hand. Is the tomb really the cause of all these deaths? Does the ancient corpse have sinister powers that haunt us in the present?
The discovery of Tutankhamun's tomb unleashed the curse. The facts surrounding the tomb are somewhat obscure. The young king was very mysterious. He took the throne when he was 8 or 9 years old and died at 18 or 19.
Tutankhamun was the son of Akhenaten, a revolutionary pharaoh. He and his spouse Nefertiti were to be treated like gods. After Akhenaten's death, he was succeeded by his young son, Tutankhamun. 10 years later, he is also dead.
Tutankhamun completely disappeared from the history books after his death. So without finding his tomb, we'd probably still not know about this pharaoh to this very day.
The Egyptian Museum in Cairo. Valuable artifacts from Tutankhamun's tomb are on display here. Some are particularly impressive, like these large wooden shrines that Carter found in the vault.
This shrine was located within the 3 other shrines behind a wall in the tomb. Inside, they found 4 sarcophagi placed one inside the other, just like the Russian Matryoshka dolls, where the dolls are placed one inside another. The same principle was applied here. 4 large rooms, one built into the next, home to those 4 sarcophagi. The last one contained the 4 coffins and was in the shrine back there. Come on, I'll show you. This shrine was inside this one, which was inside that one. And this last shrine is the largest. It contained all the others.
Carter has to take apart the shrines inside the small tomb. They were just too large, all tightly placed into one another, barely an inch apart. Carter needs to build special tools not to destroy the wooden coffins or the intarsia. Finally, it emerges, the golden mask and the mummy. But because resin was used to embalm the mummy, the mask stuck to the body. Carter finally just rips the golden mask off Tutankhamun's face. The Zurich Institute of Evolutionary Medicine. Professor Rulli has examined Tutankhamun's corpse several times.
Howard Carter cut off its entire head, damaging it in the process.
Howard Carter disassembled the mummy into individual parts. He thought this was the best way to display the treasures.
Some of the parts that were severed have been put back together, so the damage is only visible to a certain extent. They wanted to make it look like they left the body more or less intact to future generations.
Time and again, scientists have tried to examine the pharaoh. Why did he have to die so young? Based on their research, experts agree that Tutankhamun died when he was around 19 years old, and there were no signs that he was murdered. So why did he die?
There are various theories saying he was run over by a chariot and got injured in the process. Based on current findings, however, I believe most of these injuries are unfortunately the result of handling that took place in the 1920s, but we are unable to prove that.
State-of-the-art methods and DNA analysis reveal sobering facts about the young king, who history had almost forgotten about. The beautiful golden mask hides a deformed face marked by disease. Tutankhamun's body shows clear signs of incest. The young pharaoh was probably ill from birth. He had a club foot. This would explain why archaeologists found around 130 walking canes in his tomb. In addition, he had an acute malaria infection. This mixture of disease, genetic defects, and a potential accident may have led to his premature death.
Tutankhamun's story is so fascinating to us for several reasons. Partly because he was such an incredibly young king who died at a very young age, but also because we are fascinated by Egyptian life, by this amazing civilization that existed thousands of years ago and has practically disappeared into the dust. We love to hear these magical stories of kings and their adventures, and associate that with the curse, and you have an amazing story to hand down the generations.
But what about the mysterious deaths? In fact, the discoverers of the burial chamber died much less spectacularly than long thought. The majority died of natural causes. The curse of the pharaoh. No magic power, but rather a successful PR stunt. Myths often revolve around real historical figures. After all, human history has produced legendary rulers like Attila, the king of the Huns. Feared during his lifetime, he became a myth after his death. Where is the great leader buried? It's the year 453. Although Attila has already suffered his first military defeat, he is still the powerful ruler of an impressive empire. His marriage to Ildiko, a Germanic princess, is supposed to further stabilize Attila's power. But the honeymoon phase doesn't last long. Attila dies the night they were married. Was it an accident or murder? Today, it seems likely that the king died as a result of his excessive drinking. The greatest unsolved mystery, where is his tomb? His dead body is said to be protected by 3 layers of iron, silver, and gold. Allegedly, Attila's followers cut off their hair and scratched their faces to mourn his death with blood instead of tears. But where could he be buried? It's like looking for a needle in a haystack. The Huns were on the move in almost all of Europe. In the West, they entered the stage of history in the 5th century AD. In bloody battles, the warrior horsemen advanced deep into the heart of Europe. Their greatest enemies, the Romans.
We don't know exactly why the Huns started to move. Perhaps it was climate change, perhaps they were searching for new fertile land for their growing numbers of horsemen. But we are certain that when they started to move, they pushed in front of them tens of thousands of people, and they fought those tribes as well, pushing them up against the walls of the Roman Empire.
Attila was probably the most successful Hun leader. He knew how to unite the feuding tribes. Today, we don't even know what he looked like, because there are no written documents. The Huns were an illiterate people. The only reports about them come from their enemies. The former Hun Empire is mainly located in today's Hungary. Remains of the warriors on horseback are scattered all across the country. To really understand the Huns, scientists study their dead. Archaeologist Gabor Wilhelm specializes in excavating antique tombs. Only recently, Wilhelm's team discovered a particularly spectacular object. It is the skull of a warrior who lived at the same period as Attila. He was buried in a Hun ritual.
This tomb is an important find because there are still many unanswered questions on the Huns. Thanks to written tradition, we know a few things about Attila, but finds from this era are rare. Even the smallest artifacts help us to complete this mosaic, this puzzle.
But who is this mysterious Hun warrior? The tomb is unusually exquisite. Golden jewelry, belt buckles, an iron sword. No doubt this has to be the grave of a powerful man. Unfortunately, it's not Attila. The warrior died young. Attila, however, probably lived until the age of 50. Experts believe that Attila was also buried with precious treasures, gold, silver, and invaluable riches for those who find his tomb. He is said to have been buried under a river in a secret ceremony.
Riverbeds are wonderful locations for preserving historic material. There is no air, and that means that the material can be preserved for centuries. So there's every chance that if we found the right place, then Attila's burial chamber would be preserved just perfectly.
But how could a king be buried under a river? With islands to shorten the dam. A natural barrier would mean the water only needs to be dammed on one side, while the other side serves as a natural drain. Later, a wall can be built on that side too. This way, Attila's men might have been able to dig a grave that could be flooded afterwards. But the Danube has changed its course over the centuries. Where are you supposed to start looking?
We found Roman materials and far older relics along the Danube. I don't see why we wouldn't be able to find memories of the Huns, if not Attila's grave itself.
Not all researchers believe in the underwater theory. They are looking somewhere else. Budapest. This is where the life's work of an unknown author is stored. The Hungarians refer to him as anonymous. His work is titled The Gesta Hungarorum, The Deeds of the Hungarians. The 800-year-old manuscript mentions the city of King Attila. But where is this ancient royal city? Some think it could be the medieval town of Sicambria. Sicambria is believed to be lost, but its ruins might be found in the woods of the Pilish Mountains. Ecologist Imre Lansky has followed the Gesta Hungarorum and is convinced that he's found the remains of the ancient city in this forest.
I'm standing on the wall of Attila's castle. The wall was already here back then.
If he is right, Attila's tomb might also be hidden somewhere among these trees and rocks. Lansky starts drilling into the ground. He hopes to find a cavity hiding the tomb of Attila. An endoscope camera probe slowly makes its way through the soil.
This is a fragmented stone, and the rock is not the same.
But whether Attila was really buried in this forest remains unclear. The same goes for the question as to who Attila really was. A cruel barbarian or a skillful negotiator. The only way to find out is to discover his tomb. The greatest myths also emerge in places where inexplicable phenomena cause fear in people. Bizarre lights in the sky, ships and airplanes disappearing without trace. Natural events like these are what stories are made of. People have always found the extreme weather and the ruthless sea in the Bermuda Triangle terrifying. But what's behind the secrets of the Devil's Triangle? December 5th, 1945, around noon, 5 U.S. torpedo bombers take off from their base in Florida. It's a routine training flight, targeted bombing and navigating above open water. Halfway there, the squadron leader reports compass problems. The pilots are disoriented, then radio contact breaks off. To this day, all 14 crew members and their aircrafts are missing.
Flight 19 became so famous because it wasn't just one plane, it wasn't just one ship, it was 5 planes. It was an entire squadron, and they were never found.
At the time of their disappearance, the men are in the middle of the infamous Bermuda Triangle. For centuries, the waters between Florida, Puerto Rico, and the Bermuda Islands have been shrouded in mysteries. Over the last 100 years, more than 50 ships and 20 airplanes are said to have vanished here without a trace. The exact numbers are unknown. Time and again, eyewitnesses report bizarre phenomena in the area. Charles Lindbergh, the legendary transatlantic aviator, also had an unusual experience. On February 13, 1928, he takes off to a non-stop flight from Havana, Cuba, to his home, St. Louis, Missouri.
Both compasses malfunctioned over Florida Strait. The liquid compass card rotated without stopping. Could recognize no stars through heavy haze. Liquid compass card kept rotating until the Spirit of St. Louis reached the Florida coast.
So we know that the compass spun around uncontrollably. He wasn't able to navigate by the stars. When he finally found out where he was 300 miles off course near Bahama Island.
One of the most spectacular cases is the disappearance of the USS Cyclops in 1918, a gigantic US Navy vessel. In their official report, the US Navy concludes there has been no more baffling mystery in the annals of the Navy than the disappearance of the USS Cyclops. No radio messages, no distress signals, no signs of life. How can a ship of that size just vanish into thin air?
Part of the fame to do with the event was also associated with the war. So she was lost during the war, and there was a great deal of fear over what the Germans might be doing with their U-boats. And although the Cyclops was not in waters that should have been fought over, perhaps the Germans were operating U-boats there. So there's a lot of fear associated with the war, which made this myth so powerful.
For the first time, people start talking about the treacherous waters. Rumors linked German saboteurs, supernatural forces, and giant sea monsters to its disappearance. Author Marvin Barash has been investigating the case for years. He's familiar with the myths surrounding this ship. However, he does not believe in a miracle. Rather, he is sure to have found a clue in the documents.
There's this U.S. Weather Bureau chart that indicates that there's a large weather system on the east coast of the United States that could have indeed traveled with this large low system into the area where the Cyclops was on her way home.
But if the USS Cyclops really was in distress, why didn't she call for help?
I suspect a rogue wave, the type of thing that would not have been anticipated without warning, no time to prepare, and I suspect likely at night.
Monster waves develop when several swells of different lengths overlap. Long waves travel faster and can overtake shorter waves. As the wave heights combine, they can reach up to 30 meters. Did the USS Cyclops fall victim to such a monster wave? Could the myth of the Bermuda Triangle have a simple explanation, like unpredictable weather? But what about the compass anomalies reported by Charles Lindbergh and others? The Bermuda Islands are the remnants of an ancient volcano formed more than 30 million years ago. Witnesses of an apocalyptic moment in the history of the planet. Nick Hutchins is exploring the underwater rocks.
If we were standing in this exact spot 33 million years ago, we would be under 3,000 feet of lava. This was a big volcanic island then.
Over millions of years, the volcanic rock is eroded by wind and weather and washed into the sea. Today, a layer of lava sand 150 meters thick covers the ocean floor around the islands. Hutchins believes the volcanic floor could explain some of the phenomena observed in the Bermuda Triangle.
Magnetite is the most magnetic, naturally occurring mineral on Earth. And the magnetite in these heavy minerals here, this is enough to affect a compass. Just this little bit here. And as you can see, as we move the compass over here, it moves. It's not a lot, 3 or 4 degrees, but that'd be enough to cause a disaster. You can imagine what 500 billion tons might do.
According to that, Bermuda is a huge magnet right in the middle of the ocean. A conventional magnetic compass would certainly point in a different direction. This can cause ships and planes to go off course.
The Bermuda Triangle doesn't stand out statistically as much as it stands out in our imaginations. It becomes a place where we project whatever our myth is. If your myth is that everything's explainable, you're projecting that onto the Bermuda Triangle. If your myth is that there are aliens or Atlantis, that also is then going to be what you project onto the Bermuda Triangle.